When I think of a platformer, I ask myself two questions. One, what makes this a fun game? Is it the controls, the atmosphere, the characters, the story, the music, or do I dare say, the momentum? After taking all of those into account, I ask the second question, how much of this shit actually matters? Sure, a game can be fun by gameplay alone, but when every place I visit starts to blend together, the game becomes defined by that first experience. Rarely ever do I have a reason to go back and visit these locations again, and by that measure, the songs in them begin to become unrecognizable. There may be a few iconic tracks that I come back to, but that's really about it. Maybe sometimes I'll come back to an individual series for its characters, but how far can a cast of glub shittos carry a game that just isn't fun to play in the first place? Some platformers are tight and coordinated, asking the world of you for something as simple as a crystal or even level progression. I love games with tight controls, but I don't always want to throw myself into that kind of pressure, you know? Sometimes I just want something that gives me a directive, but lets me go at my own pace. Sometimes there is no clear direction, but that's okay, because I have all the time in the world to make it there. So when I think of a platformer that's fun to play and never ages, in my eyes at least, I usually think of Donkey Kong. But that's only because he's my favorite. If you gave me a few more seconds to think about it, it would sound more like...
I'll tell you about sitting on the bed. Pets sit on the floor.
Spyro the Dragon, a generation-defining platformer series that often gets overlooked but never forgotten. Spyro has always held a place in my heart ever since I was a kid. Okay, it was the Skylanders version, but I know better now. Through all of his outings, Spyro has had an odd reputation in the gaming sphere. Every game that goes by, he seems to stray further and further from what makes him anyway. But with Toys for Bob behind the helm for his next grand adventure, will Spyro retain his most iconic traits? Well, I would hope so. Spyro is in the hands of the people who made the Reignited trilogy. I don't doubt their abilities to make a Spyro game in any way. What I do doubt, however, is how effective Spyro A Realm Beyond will be. Let me start by saying, I know the trailer is already at like 10 million views. I couldn't be happier. But I have a few things I gotta get off my chest before I'm proven wrong. In the modern day, every game is making themselves out to be this grand adventure of good and evil, battles of wits and determination. The world is ending, and only Scrimblio Bimblio has the power to stop it. Lots of games seem to take this approach with advertising and practice, but with a series like Spyro, that's not really what he's about. Spyro comes from a very simple world, if you would ask me. All of his adventures are in these one-dimensional fantasy settings. The characters are all cartoonishly good or evil. No true middle ground. One of your missions in Spyro 2 is helping Hansel and Gretel on a spy mission. It doesn't get more childish than this. What I find humorous about all of this is that Spyro would have you believe that he's not like them. He's cool, he's hip, a real mean machine, a new kid on the block who's gonna lay the smoke on these suckers. Watch me do a kickflip, dude.
Why is this one set like the Blair Witch Project? What did he do to you?
Barbecue.
To me, Spyro is a reflection of the player. We're playing through his eyes. To us, all of these characters are just simple-minded, and Spyro is better off for it, but that's simply not true. Sure, Spyro has his moments of rebellion and spunk, but only to people he doesn't really like. You know, your Norks, your Riptos, your evil Portal Masters, and their equally evil dragons. Either that or the old dragons that aren't really bad, but they only exist to waste your time. Like, I don't need to know the basic button controls that the game's perfect level design was able to teach me by just showing me everything around me. There's probably people who talk about the Spyro level design. I'll talk about it later. Spyro is still relatively young through all this, with a lot of growing up to do. When you progress further through the game, Spyro's dickish behavior shows up less and less. He takes notice of each dragon he saves, the advice that they give. He starts to make conversation and witty banter with the NPCs that keep showing up. He's a punky, whimsical little bastard. And I wouldn't have him any other way. The way Spyro interacts with the world around him helps you feel more immersed in this game, which helps these locations and level layouts feel all the more special. These are levels without goalposts. The level is over when you say it's over. And in the meantime, pick up some gems, do a side quest, ride a skateboard, make some new friends and foes. These worlds are jungle gyms waiting to be played on, and you decide how fast or slow the playtime is. The reason Spyro is such an effective series of games comes from how joyous and simple the game is. It's not an ambitious trek where every decision counts. It's a platformer that moves at whatever pace you decide. And I honestly wish more games took this approach. You know, simple games that aren't asking you to pay too much attention, but also want you to invest in the lands that they set up. It's not too simple where you forget about it after like 2 hours of gameplay, but not too complex where you're paying off like an arm and a leg just to make that one jump. But gimmicks like Spyro don't sell too much anymore.
He gets all like, how do I profit off of this dragon? There's no room for microtransactions.
It's mostly because of the climate of video game storytelling. Nowadays, everyone wants to tell a story that changes the landscape of media. All these narrative-driven games with gritty visuals are what the public wants. You know, people keep buying these. But I feel like the more times someone tries to reinvent an idea, the less appealing that idea becomes. But that doesn't stop it from selling. I love me a game with some rich and heart-wrenching plot points. I like a game that can pull me in with a gruesome aesthetic and cool-ass combos, but the more we see of these games like this, the more the game makers believe that this is all the public wants. So now the focus of most games is making sure the pores of this character's ass can fit at least 16 file compilations of Mario 64, and making the story bigger and heavier than the last one. Like, we're constantly glazing off each other. This begins to have an impact on many games that were never meant to be this way. And as a result, these begin to lose their identity in many ways with something as simple as a style change. A style of a game does more than just set the age rating. It defines the tone you set for the world around you and what you want the player to take away. Like, Spyro isn't a series that works with that kind of advertising. A new evil rises? Yeah, there's always a new villain. That's how Spyro works. It's not like the villains keep getting worse, but more like a villain of the week, but the threats are always treated the same. It doesn't matter how evil you are in the Spyro universe. If you're a bad guy, they're gonna burn you at the stake and celebrate your death with a beach party. You could be a class bully, you could be Hitler. Classic Spyro principles. Yeah, Spyro just doesn't come across as a series that works with this kind of tone. The craziest thing is, Spyro has done this before, like twice. The Legend of Spyro games took this gothic medieval approach with its world building, and while this trilogy has its fans, it's not what most people think of when they hear Spyro, and certainly not what I think of. I didn't play these. I would love to, but the fucker who sold me Legend of Spyro: A New Beginning at a local game shop that shall not be named for privacy reasons, sold me a broken copy for $20 and did not test it at all. He told me he tested it. He didn't fucking test it, you liar. I want my $20 back. Most people also think of the Skylanders Spyro. A lot of the classic Spyro fans hate that guy, and rightfully so, but this is the Spyro that made $1 billion, and even then, he's a lot closer to Spyro's original tone, witty dialogue, and an unserious approach to a fantasy series. The only thing that is really working against him, again, is that horrible nose job. Even I grew up with this, and I struggle to see how this design made it out of the drafts. He looks like he was genetically bred to be as ugly as possible. I love him. But Skylanders has grown so far from its roots that it's practically its own thing. It never felt like a true Spyro game, even if it holds a place near and dear to my heart. I went box sledding on the hills of Milani Malka with my Dark Spyro figure, and he has the paint chippings to prove it.
Look at him. He looks like Herobrine. You're supposed to be a hero, Spyro.
What I'm saying is, Spyro works better as a whimsical series of games, nothing like his successors. I would be a fool if I said Toys for Bob didn't understand this. Spyro is a series the developers hold in high regard. It's what kickstarted their careers as game devs. I trust their ability to carry the tone of the Spyro series. But there is another thing that has me bent up. It's this rumor going around that Spyro will be open world. I think that's a phrase that's been dragged through the mud and let out to dry. It's a trigger word. It's like when people say, geez, I don't know, someone correct me in the comments. I don't have time for this. The open world formula works well in some cases. Legend of Zelda did it and started a domino effect bigger than Bobby Kotick taking advice from his financiers about microtransactions. Sonic kind of works as an open world game if you squint your eyes while running into oncoming traffic. Yeah, that looks like an open world game. Metroid kind of did this, but it set the series back at least 5 years because I've not seen a single person talk about this game in a positive light. Mario Odyssey and Forgotten Land are two games that I hear get tossed around as open world. I want to be very clear when I say this. These are 3D platformers. In no way are these continuous adventures on a single plane of existence. They're not open world. Kirby's levels have a clear start and end with levels that set up in a line. Mario Odyssey just has bigger levels with no main hub world, with these levels separated on a map. There hasn't really been an open world platformer. At least when it comes to Mario and Kirby. I can't speak on anyone else. If I try discussing Pokemon as an open world game, my viewers might look at me how a rescue looks at a raised hand. So I'm just going to pass that on to Redbooy and see what he thinks and move on.
Pokemon and open worldness. It actually started all the way back in Sword and Shield with the Wild area. Despite being the main draw factor for Sword and Shield, the Wild area is kind of small. You don't really visit it too much. Like, if you're playing for the game as fast as humanly possible, you're only required to go to the Wild area 2 times, but that's not really how Pokemon games are meant to be played. That's not how the goose works. But a Wild area is definitely somewhat fun to explore. All Pokemon shit is, like, what does it really offer besides shitty trees and bipolar weather? Like, are we really gonna count the dome they put over Springfield as open world? Like, let's move on. All right, what about Pokemon Legends Arceus?
I don't know what that is.
Well, Legends definitely is open. It has the problem of being empty. Although that makes sense considering the circumstances of the game. You're in the past and these people haven't really expanded yet because they're scared of Pokemon. And you teach them Pokemon aren't scary. So then they go outside their village and they think, wow, You could fit a Walmart right here and no one would bat an eye. I would definitely say Legends Arceus is a fun open world experience, although it's mainly fun if you like the catching of Pokemon. I'm kind of here for the battles with the trainers, and yeah, there's not a lot of trainers here. I mean, we also have Scarlet and Violet, which it's also empty. You know what you're thinking. Emptiness is fine. You just said that for Legends Arceus. Yes. However, Arceus takes place all the way back before Potato Land was even a thing. Well, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet takes place in the ripe old year of 2022. I'm less lenient on Scarlet and Violet's emptiness due to when it takes place, because, like, look at this shit. Also, Scarlet and Violet has so many, like, what? It's just an ordinary looking Pokemon. Oh my goodness! And on top of all that, the one thing Pokemon fans truly want out of open world, level scaling. Scarlet and Violet F that up. It doesn't matter if you fight the guy who's meant to be the 8th gym leader, 1st or 8th. His Pokemon are still in the late 40s, early 50s. We are stuck here with your freshly hatched Flacoka. Brief stop to DLCs. They're more open in their base games. I wouldn't call any of them fully open, but I want to specifically mention Blueberry Academy because this one is actually a dome. Like, it is actually the dome over Springfield. It's just like an artificial habitat, and it's in the Unova region. Like, back to the dome over Springfield, like, that's America. This is just literally Springfield. They turned Homer Simpson into a Pokemon. Now to Legend ZA, you might ask. ZA, well, definitely is open. Like, I don't think anyone denies ZA is open. It's a city. It's not an open world. It's a fun city to explore because you got basically 3 levels to it as you can explore on the rooftops. You got the weird wild zones. You can explore around the main city. You can even go underground, but, like, it is a singular city. It's one model. Like, I'm not calling a model open world. On the bright side, from what we see in the Winds and Waves trailer, it looks like Gen 10 will be a step in the right direction, as I think Pokemon has been doing, at least with the open world aspects. I mean, I'd assume Gen 10 will be open world. I don't know why they pulled a plug right now. And hey, Pacopia's doing pretty good. It's the highest rated game on Switch, and it just got DLC announced, which is $35, so it makes the full package $105. You know what? I'm just gonna go do something that makes me happy. There's a new BFGI episode out, so I'm gonna go watch that.
3 minutes is up. We gotta get you out of here. Go watch it. Go on. Get!
So with all we've seen and heard about open world games over the years, you can imagine my doubts when I heard that the new Spyro game would take this approach. To me, Spyro levels are these small little areas with their own stories to tell, lost corners of time that are waiting to be explored. To put them all on a single map is certainly a choice. Not one I would make, but maybe this change could be for the better. The game seems to be changing the formula with some kind of on-command flight mode. This allows for more places to explore and new ways to play. I like this a lot. There's no better way to innovate on the Spyro formula than what people have always wanted. To fly around as their favorite purple dragon. Anytime, anywhere. It reminds me of this idea I had for a Skylanders comeback a few months back, where you get to explore the Skylands, flying around in these cinematic-ass looking landscapes like in the trailers. It makes the Skylands live up to the name, you know, what we saw in those advertisements. If these new flight mechanics are done right, then that brings me one step closer to that childlike dream. At the end of the day, this is still a game made by Spyro fans for Spyro fans. I have full hopes for this game to be an experience none will forget. One that recaptures that feeling Spyro gave all of us for the next generation. If this video feels short, it's because I didn't expect to make a video about my favorite little guy so soon. I honestly thought I would have more time to wait until I build a bigger audience, but you know, he's fresh in the algorithm right now. I might as well voice my concerns for Spyro in the modern day before the game comes out and undermines it all. Anyway, TLDR.
Spyro's fucking awesome!
Don't stop, we're in luck now. Don't stop, there's so much to be found. We can't find paradise. All we have to do is go, free your soul.
Why is he in Fortnite? What is he gonna... Is he like a sidekick? Does that make sense for him to... I don't know. Why is he in Fortnite? I mean, I'll take it. I'll fork over some V-Bucks for Fortnite, for Spyro. I'll do it.